Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Smooth Move, brought to you by yourdependablepartner.com. And we try every week to bring you really good information from the battlefield, if you will. Um, Not theory, not hype, but actual valuable information when you're dealing with senior issues, the whole conglomeration of issues. And whether you're the senior or you're the family member taking care of a senior, we hope you're enjoying our podcast. If you like them, I hope you'll subscribe right at the bottom here, and we'll keep them coming to you. And this week, Joelle and I wanted to really kind of delve into a recent experience we had with a move to prepare you for when a smooth move isn't always smooth and how to make sure that you can make it smooth. And there's some prep work going on. So, Joelle, welcome.
Thanks.
And we will just, I'm going to give you sort of the groundwork for this. Our client in this situation, we had several clients. Actually, there were three. So let me explain how this all worked. This was a wonderful senior lady who unfortunately is transitioning from assisted living to more of a memory care situation. Her need is memory care. And no family, no children, but has two guardians or two powers of attorney for her that live out of the state of Florida. Both of them live out of state. And she was no longer able to be at the community she was in. And one of the in home nursing care companies realized that she had to make this move and suggested we be the ones to help. Is that a fair assessment of what happened, Joel?
100%. Yep.
Okay. All right. And so, as we always do, we met with the client and we uh, really tried to assess where she was going and where she was coming from, what was important to her. We wanted to make the surroundings as familiar to her as humanly possible and as comfortable for her as humanly possible. And this lady had a lot of stuff. And when I tell you stuff, I always joke around about my wife's walk-in closet. This lady had two walk-in closets, and apparently she had been very active in the entertainment space, I'll call it, without giving away too much detail. And um, she had magnificent dresses and shoes and costumes and all sorts of things. And one of her, remember, she was in Florida. Her powers of attorney were out of state. I believe they were in New York or New Jersey area. And so we suggested that we try to get rid of as much of that clothing and shoes and so forth as possible. That the kitchens be cleaned out. Um, she was no longer going to be cooking where she was moving to, and she liked to cook.
Yes.
So, and I'm sure she was probably a very good cook, but cooking wasn't going to be one of the things that was going to be on her agenda in the new place. So initially, she was moving from the first floor to another first floor, ten minutes away. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. And at the very last minute, she moved to a fourth floor in a community 30 or 40 minutes away in a completely different area, completely different town. And um, I'm going to let you pick it up from there, Joelle,
Sure.
because, uh, well, let me say the good news first. I'm going to give you the punchline first. This
Okay.
lady went to bed in her own bed with her own sheets, her own blankets, her kitchen unpacked. She got a two-bedroom unit, and both closets were full and overflowing to the point where we almost were afraid the brackets were going to fall off the wall. So the good news is she was in her bed that night in the new community. But wow, what lessons do people take away? I'm going to let you pick it up from there, Joelle.
So, if you don't have somebody who's there to help you, because this is a frequent scenario that somebody is here in Florida by themselves, they don't have family, they don't have relatives here, and maybe their relatives can't come down here for the day that they move, and that's okay. As long as we know that that's what we're dealing with, then we can come up with a comprehensive package of what we're going to do and what it's going to cost based on that. But this was a little bit of a different scenario where we were told these things were going to be done and then they weren't done. So, we are people of honor and integrity, and we did not want to. The other piece that happened with this uh, senior is that she had gotten taken advantage of, and somebody had gotten into her account. So all of her accounts were frozen, her funds were frozen. And her friend and POA said, we don't have the funds right now because I can't get into her account, but we will make sure we take care of it. But she's very limited on funds. She kept telling me she's very limited, very limited, very limited. So we really tried hard to pare down the price as best we could. And then when we got there and it was a completely different thing, well, our job became greater, but we were not going to charge her more money because we had already agreed on a price. Um, but the whole thing moved around. So you have to be really careful about what it is you're doing and if it's actually going to be that. When things change, then things on our end have to change, obviously.
Well,
So
Joelle, can I
yeah,
can I just say one thing because
yeah.
I think it's so critical. I don't mean to jump in here, but it
No,
is
go
an
ahead.
important fact. One of the things that we pride ourselves on, and you must do to protect yourself, is get everything in writing.
Of
Have a
course.
contract.
Yes.
Make sure that that contract, and ours is, as detailed as humanly possible to protect yourself.
Right.
Now, we didn't do that to protect ourselves, which we could have and should have.
Right. Well, there
But
was a lot in the contract that's very specific, but I think what we're going to do going forward is more of these are the things that you've agreed to do. If they're not done before we get there, then there's going to have to be an extra fee because that's extra hours for us. Right? Fair?
yeah, fair. I mean, we started this job at 8 o'clock in the morning
Mhm.
and we hobbled out of there at 10:30 p.m.
Yep. I mean, we will stay to get the job finished no matter how late it is, but it was not, that was not the plan. And, Murphy's Law, things don't always go the way, right, we expect them to, and we know that. But I think one of the biggest things that people don't realize is when you have somebody that has memory issues, first of all, it's hard for anybody to move, right? It's challenging. It's one of the top three stressors that somebody could go through. So even in the best circumstances, it's a stressful situation. But when you have somebody who has memory issues, it's even worse. It's uprooting to them. It's disorienting, it's frustrating because you can tell them over and over again, which happened in this situation, where we're going, why it has to be this way. And they say, okay. And then it's almost on a loop. 2 minutes later, the same questions, the same conversation. And it becomes, very difficult for the person that's moving. So I think when you have somebody that has those issues, it's probably better to remove them from the situation instead of sitting there and watching all of their things being packed and moved around. It's probably better that they take them somewhere for the day. Go, go to a park, go sit at a zoo. I mean, there's a million things that can be done that will keep their mind a little bit more active and less focused on this um, challenge that they're having that's causing them anxiety. And then that way, when we get to the new place and everything is set up, they come into a completely, uh, organized place and they don't feel like there's a lot of uh, chaos because when you're moving it can be a little bit chaotic. The other things that are important is to make sure that you take care of all of the things that you are not taking. Not necessarily that you have to move them out because we'll do that, but knowing this is not going and this is going. And maybe even if you could, putting them in a separate spot so that we don't take things that aren't going. And then we'll go back afterwards and we'll get rid of all the stuff that wasn't being taken, whether that be auctioning or to a charity organization or if it just needs to go to the dump. But you don't want to be on the day where they're packing, going through your pantry and trying to figure out what's expired and what needs to be thrown away. So that is going to slow everything down. And then, saying things like, oh, that's not going, but put that on the porch so that they don't see that it's not going because they're going to be upset. Like, for example, a sewing machine that the person is not sewing, so they want to get rid of it. Um, and all of that is fine, but it creates more complexity and difficulty for everybody if you're doing that at the very last second. Because the other thing is, if you, as the either power of attorney, the friend, the relative, whatever it is, it's going to be there helping us if somebody is there on the day of the move, are going to also have to take care of your loved one, then your time is divided and you can't really be fully attentive to what needs to be done. So you either need to, it's better if you're there fully attentive, or you remove yourself and your senior out of the situation so that we can just get our job done. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and I'm going to take it a step further
Go ahead.
because people would say, why would you need a senior moving management company? Why
Mhm.
don't you just handle, like
Just
three
use a
strong,
mover.
three strong guys in a truck,
Right,
right?
right.
And I think what you just said is the key to it, Joelle. That is why we exist.
Hmm.
It is to go to the other community, prepare yourself, go to where the current person is living, the person who's moving is living, prepare that place, know
Right,
what's going where,
right.
know if it's going, knowing how to dispose of it. Sounds pretty simple, okay?
It's
But
not.
it's not. It's anything but simple. And if you are not working with a professional, I'm going to tell you, most movers aren't known for their pleasing personalities.
Right,
Um, it's not to say they're not nice people, but they're not known for their, they have a job to do, and like you better not get in their way or you're going to get run over.
right.
And that's where this where your dependablepartner.com comes in. And it's making sure that the senior has the least amount of trauma, mental and even physical, candidly, in this move, and that the I know it's a word you don't like, but I'm going to say it anyway. The transition to a different community, or the transition to a community at all, if you're currently
Mhm.
just independently at home, that causes the least amount of emotional and physical disruption. So, even in the chaos we went through in this move, and it was chaos organized,
Mhm.
our client slept in her bed, as I stated, with her sheets and her covers and her pillows and her night table. Uh, that's where she slept that night, and that is truly the sign of success. First of all, most movers are just going to move. It's up to you to unpack, right?
Right,
Don't put
right,
it wherever you want it, but the unpacking is a tremendous issue,
right,
and that's where a lot of chaos can come from, candidly.
right.
So,
And so everybody, I'm sure I've brought it up before, but I've had this experience personally. When I moved here to be with my parents, they moved first, and they had a guy with a truck who packed them up. And I can't even tell you the stuff that was packed, like garbage, things that I don't even know why were even brought. But everything was put into the garage that they weren't sure where it should go. They did their bedroom and whatever. And when I got down here like a week and a half later, I came with two containers and they had to be emptied. And then I cannot tell you the amount of time it took me to go through everything. Then I had to call for charities to come pick things up. And I had to throw a bunch of stuff away. And I had to, I mean, it was just weeks and weeks and weeks of work for me that things just shouldn't have even come. But when you hire movers, that's what they're doing. They're moving. They're not thinking, it's not their job to think what goes and what doesn't go. They're just packing everything and bringing it. That's it. So if you want to have something smoother so that when you get to the new place, first of all, I think people sometimes don't realize many movers work by the pound. We don't work that way, but a lot of movers work by the pound. So when you're bringing things that you're then going to get rid of, you paid for those things to be moved.
Yeah,
So
it's a good point.
it's much better to sort through everything on the front end. And then when you get there, it's easier to organize things. So in this case, when we got there, everything was put in her closet. All of her handbags, all of her clothes were put in her closets. All of her, we did bring her whole kitchen, even though she's not going to be cooking. And this woman was a cook. So we had every kind of kitchen appliance you could think of. They were all unloaded. They were all put away. All of the dishes put away, the glasses, the everything was put in its place. So there was nothing to really think about after the fact. Everything was done. Except, she wanted to move things around to a different place because she got 2 bedrooms this time instead of one. So, maybe she decided she wanted to make a den out of one. But the whole point is that when the person gets there, not when they get there, once we're done, everything has a place and they can move in and they can sit down and they can turn on their TV and they can relax on the sofa or they can get in their bed and they can have a good night's sleep.
Okay, so look, um, I think everybody has a pretty clear understanding now of what a senior move management company does
Mhm.
and the value and the benefit in doing so and in hiring and engaging with a senior move management company. And we've put together a lot of information. Knowledge is power,
Mm.
and the more information you have, the better. And so, if you are the senior facing this move in the future, or you're a family member, I would encourage you to go to yourdependablepartner.com. We have a special report and numerous articles on our blog about how to effectively downsize, um, and make this move a smooth one. And so I think that'll wrap it up. Any last words you want to say, Joelle?
I think we might also have a checklist, and if you can't find it on the website and you would like one, please email us and we'll be happy to send it to you.
Super. So again, it's yourdependablepartner.com. Again, if you like our uh, podcast, just hit the subscribe button. And if you are in the senior services industry and like to be on our podcast, you can email us at info@yourdependablepartner.com. We're always looking to share good information with our subscribers and viewers. And we'll be back again next week with another episode of A Smooth Move, brought to you by yourdependablepartner.com.